It was the largest gathering in the galaxy. Thousands of alien species filled the grand galactic whole. Their faces were different. Some had horns, some had scales, some even floated instead of walking, but they all shared one feeling, pride. It was the 500,000th anniversary of their greatest victory. The victory over Earth. Tall banners hung from the ceiling, each one showing a planet the aliens had conquered. Right in the center, above the crowd, was a large red X across a blue planet, Earth, the symbol of their past triumph. The speaker for this celebration was a famous alien general named Zalcor the Proud. He walked slowly to the center stage. He was tall, with glowing red eyes and armor made from crushed stars. The crowd became silent. Zalcor raised his arm. "Let the galaxy remember this day," he shouted, his voice echoing. "500,000 years ago, we destroyed the only threat we ever feared, humanity." The crowd cheered. A wave of sound shook the entire hall. "They were brave." "Yes," Zalcor continued. "They built strong machines. They fought with fire and steel. But in the end, they were weak. They were emotional. And so, they fell." A large hologram appeared behind him, showing Earth's final battle. Alien ships firing on Earth. Explosions. Human cities burning. "Earth is dust," he said. "Their people are forgotten. Their name, erased. The humans are no more." Everyone clapped, shouted, and roared. It was a celebration not of peace, but of dominance. But in a dark corner of the galaxy, something else was happening. Far away, in forbidden space, a small alien research ship flew near a sector marked as no entry. "Do not approach." It was the location where Earth once existed. But the pilot, a curious young alien named Tarek, had found something strange. "Commander," he said through the comms, "we are picking up ... a signal." The commander, a cold and logical species, called the Shintar, looked confused. "There should be nothing there," she said. But the signal continued. Soft, low, rhythmic pulses like a heartbeat. "Can you play it?" she asked. Tarek pressed a button. The ship's speakers began to play the strange message. It was in a forgotten language, ancient, lost, but one word was clear: Earth. Everyone on the ship went silent. "Where is it coming from?" asked the commander. Tarek zoomed in on the source. "It's coming from a small black object. Not natural, it's a probe." The crew grew tense. The last time anyone saw a probe from that sector was 500,000 years ago, right before Earth vanished. "Bring it in," said the commander. Back at the galactic hole, the celebration was still going. Music, light shows, alien dancers. Zalcor stood with other generals, laughing and drinking glowing blue liquid. Suddenly, a military officer rushed in. "General, urgent message." Zalcor growled. "Not now, we are celebrating, but it's about Earth." Silence fell. "What about it?" Zalcor's voice became serious. The officer held up a small device. "We received this from a scout ship near the Forbidden Zone." He pressed play. A deep, calm voice echoed from the device. "You were wrong." The hall went silent. Everyone stared at the device. The voice was not alien. It was human. Zalcor's face lost color. He stared at the message again. "You were wrong. Is this a trick?" someone asked. "No," the officer said. "The signal is real. It came from the place Earth used to be." Zalcor stepped back. His hands shook slightly. "Impossible." He looked around. The crowd that was once cheering now stood frozen. "If this is true," he whispered, "then they're still alive." Final scene. The probe activates. On the scout ship, the alien crew placed the black probe in a shielded chamber. Lights blinked on its surface. Then it opened. Inside was a small metal cube. The cube began to float. It projected a hologram of a human soldier. His armor was black, his eyes were glowing white. "We watched you forget us," the projection said. "We heard your lies, your celebrations, your pride. But we never left. We waited." The room turned cold now. "We remember." The cube exploded into light, sending a signal deep into space. A whisper moved through the Galactic Council like cold wind through an empty room. "They're still alive." The words had no speaker, yet everyone heard them. The massive hall, once filled with light and laughter, now stood silent. General Zalcor stared at the replaying message. "You were wrong." No one moved. No one breathed. And then the alarms began. In the control center orbiting planet Varric 7, red lights flashed across every screen. Long-range sensors had picked up something small, dark, and fast entering the Forbidden Zone once, labeled as Earth's grave. Technicians scrambled. "It's not a meteor, it's not natural." "What is it then?" the chief engineer demanded. They didn't know. But one thing was clear: it wasn't alien tech. It was something else. Something old, something familiar. Within minutes, a command was sent. Dispatch a team to investigate. The scout ship Veranex was the closest. A small but well-trained group of alien explorers boarded it quickly. They didn't know the full truth, only rumors, ghost stories, but they followed orders. They headed straight into the dark dot as they approached the dead zone. Stars seemed to vanish from their view. The blackness was thick, almost alive. It was as if space itself didn't want to be disturbed. Commander Yelth, a blue-skinned veteran from the Arrowan species, looked out the window. "There's nothing here," said the pilot. "Look again," Yelth said. And then they saw it movement. Not a ship, not a life form. It was space, shifting, a ripple like heat waves over a desert. And then, silence. The ship's systems started failing. One by one, lights flickered, screens glitched, even their thoughts seemed heavy. "Something's jamming us," one crew member shouted. "No," Yelth whispered. "Something's watching us." Outside, a shape began to form, tall, black, and almost invisible. It had no engines, no wings. It simply appeared, like it had always been there, hidden in plain sight. The crew stared at it through the window. It looked human, but not. A figure floated in space, without a suit. Its body was metal and flesh. Its face was hidden under a dark helmet. It didn't move. It just watched. The pilot reached for controls, but they were dead. "We need to send a message." Someone yelled. Too late. The lights died completely, and the last thing they heard was a voice, directly in their minds. "Go back. This place remembers." Back at the Galactic Council, panic spread fast. The Veranex had gone silent. No message, no signal, just gone. The council leader, a creature of crystals and light named Sovquin, summoned an emergency session. "This is not possible," Sovquin said. "Earth was destroyed. Their sun collapsed. The species was erased." "Then what sent that message?" Zelkor snapped. "What is disabling our ships?" A nervous technician entered the room. "Counselors," he stammered. "We just received a second signal." Everyone turned. This time, it wasn't just a voice, it was a memory. A projection lit the room, showing the last recorded moment from Veranex. The crew, frozen, the strange floating figure, the blackness swallowing the ship, and then, nothing. "Maybe it's a trick," someone whispered. Zelkor shook his head. "No, it's a warning," the council argued. Some wanted to send warships, others said to block the entire zone. A few wanted to erase the records and pretend it never happened, but Sovquin was quiet. His crystal body dimmed. He remembered something. 500,000 years ago, during the final invasion of Earth, a single human scientist had broadcast a message just before the destruction. "You may destroy us, but one day, when the stars have forgotten your names, we will return, not as we were, but as we must be." No one had listened. Now Sovquin wondered if that message had been a promise, or a prophecy, far away. Deep in the zone once called Earth's sector, a pulse shook through space. It was not energy. It was not a weapon. It was a heartbeat. Slow, powerful, ancient. The stars near it dimmed. Time itself felt slower. Light bent in strange ways. And from the center of that pulse, something was rising. Not a ship, not a city, not a city, an entire planet, cloaked for eons, hidden behind folded space. Kept alive by machines more advanced than any alien civilization had ever known. Earth. Changed, transformed, alive, but no longer welcoming. Atop one of Earth's high-orbiting platforms, a humanoid figure stood. Its eyes burned white. It looked out across the galaxy, where alien civilizations thrived on false stories. It opened its mouth, and though no sound passed through space, its message echoed across the stars. "We watched your pride, we counted your lies, and now we rise." Silence filled the control chamber of the Galactic Defense Corps. Not a single officer spoke. Not after what they had seen. The transmission from the lost sector was still playing on loop. That voice, cold, clear, and human, echoed across the galaxy. No one could trace the origin. No one could jam it. It had bypassed every firewall, every shielded server, every classified network. It was everywhere. "We rise on planet Verex 7, children cried in their homes, their small minds overwhelmed by the sudden wave of fear that washed across the stars. On warships, generals stared at their displays, watching sensor maps redraw themselves. A new object had appeared in the center of the dead zone. A planet, blue and green. Impossible. It couldn't be. Earth was destroyed 500,000 years ago. The Alien Alliance had sent their best forces. They had turned cities into ash, burned forests, cracked mountains, even collapsed the sun, or so they thought. But Earth was back, whole, hidden, awake, and it remembered. In the dark meeting rooms of the council, The leaders tried to hold on to control. Arguments exploded like storms. It's not possible, one barked. It's a trick. Some mimic species playing with our fears. They were extinct. We saw their bones. But Zalcor remained quiet. His eyes were locked on an ancient file, one he had ordered deleted long ago. A file labeled Project Eclipse Human. Emergency Protocol 01. He had seen it only once, during the last war with Earth. Back when humans had started losing, they had launched strange machines into orbit. Silent black towers. The aliens had assumed they were desperate weapons. They were wrong. The project wasn't a weapon, it was a doorway. Earth hadn't been destroyed. It had been folded, hidden between layers of time and space, impossible to detect. Locked away, by human technology that no alien race ever truly understood. Until now a beep broke the silence in the chamber. Another signal, this time a visual. A single room, metal and clean. In its center, a humanoid figure stood tall. Its face was human, but its body was clearly not. Metal fused with skin, eyes that glowed without blinking. Behind it, large circular objects floated, spinning like artificial halos. It spoke. We are what you feared, not machines, not flesh. Something more, no threat, no anger, just a statement, a fact. The figure paused, then stepped aside. The image shifted. It now showed one of the Council's own archives. But no one had authorized access. And yet, the human figure walked through it like it belonged there. It showed an old recording from the final days of the Earth War. A human woman, in torn military uniform, sat alone in a control room. Blood on her face, fire in the background. If you're watching this, she said, we didn't win, but we didn't die either. The camera shook. Explosions, screams. She continued. Project Eclipse is live. They'll think we're gone. Let them. They need to forget us, so we can become something they'll never understand. The screen went black. Silence again. All across the galaxy, systems were failing. Small disruptions at first. Communication delays, satellites blinking out. Then larger failures, defense grids, freezing AI units shutting down, fleets losing contact. It was like something was crawling through the galaxy's technology. An unseen force, not a VIR-USA presence. It didn't destroy. It watched. Observed. And then, it whispered. In the minds of millions, across different species. The same voice appeared in their thoughts. You studied us. You dissected us. You laughed when we fell. Now, do you understand what we've become? On a distant mining moon, a young alien worker dropped his tool, his hands shaking. He turned to his supervisor and whispered, they never died. Back on Earth, or what was now Earth Reborn, the sky had changed. Orbiting above, silent structures, shaped like rings and towers, moved in perfect patterns. Their purpose unknown, their design impossible to copy. Inside one of them, human children ran through a glowing white hole. They laughed, played, learned, but they were not like the humans of old. They spoke without speaking. They touched computers. Without hands, they carried history in their minds. The old Earth had fallen, but it had planted seeds. Now, they were blooming. In the central chamber, a council of human figures met. Their bodies varied, some metal, some light, some almost cloud-like. One asked, do we act now? Another replied, not yet. A third said, they must remember what they did. Only then can balance return. And high above them, a machine shaped like a moon opened its eye. The sky was burning. Above Earth. Stars vanished behind enemy ships, hundreds of them, maybe thousands. They floated like insects in a swarm, blocking out the light. Their weapons were ready. Their orders were clear. Erase the human race. On the ground, cities were collapsing. Skyscrapers that once touched clouds now fell like toys. Oceans boiled as energy blasts rained from orbit. Forests turned to ash. The air itself trembled with shockwaves. But Earth was not begging, it was preparing. Inside, a deep underground facility, hidden beneath a frozen mountain range, 5 humans stood in silence. Their faces were tired, uniforms burned and stained with dust and blood. Screens around them showed chaos. Enemy ships descending, defense systems failing, human fleets shattered. The tallest among them, Commander Ilara Graves, placed a small, black key into a glowing console. Once this begins, she said, there's no way back. The youngest of them, a scientist named Ren, swallowed hard. Are we sure we want to do this? Do we have a choice? Ilara replied. No one answered. They had run every simulation. They had seen every possible ending. All paths led to extinction, except one. Project Eclipse. No one outside this room knew what it truly was. Not even the human soldiers dying in orbit. Not the citizens praying in shelters. It wasn't a weapon, it was something more dangerous, a second chance. Alara activated the sequence. Across the planet, deep machines hidden beneath oceans and mountains awoke. Towers rose from the ground, slowly rotating, humming with impossible energy. They didn't fire, they didn't defend, they shifted. Around Earth, space itself began to twist. Alien ships near the atmosphere started losing control. Their sensors glitched, time slipped, light stretched into strange colors. One moment they were near Earth, the next, light years away. "What are they doing?" shouted a panicked alien captain watching the impossible. "They're folding reality." Then silence. Earth was gone. Not destroyed, not hidden, removed from that moment on. No scanner could find it, no map showed its location. As far as the galaxy was concerned, Earth had vanished. The war ended in confusion. The Alien Alliance, unable to find proof of survival, declared victory. They told stories of Earth's destruction, stories that would turn into legends. Humanity became a warning tale for others. Never challenged the galaxy, but under the surface of that legend was a lie Earth had created. In truth, the planet had folded into a dimension of slowed time, a sealed pocket of space untouched by the galaxy. Days passed outside, inside, centuries. And while the galaxy celebrated, Earth evolved, machines maintained the sleeping, minds were connected. Humans began to change, no longer bound by flesh, no longer limited by time. In those sealed chambers, human children were born already linked to knowledge, their minds faster than old computers, their bodies adjusted for harsh conditions. Some became part metal, some became light itself, some left their bodies completely. Ilara had said one last thing before she entered her stasis pod. "We failed to protect the world, but maybe we can build a better one in the dark." Centuries passed, then millennia. Earth kept growing, learning, watching, and then, one day, the galaxy whispered their name again. Humans. Earth opened its eyes. The machines that once folded the world now unfolded it carefully, quietly, just enough to reach out, just enough to send a signal, a warning. "You were wrong." They didn't send warships, they sent memories. Across the stars, old battles replayed in the minds of alien leaders, glimpses of what they had done. Cities turned to dust, children burned, their crimes, long forgotten, returned with sharp clarity. The humans didn't need to attack, they only needed to be remembered. But remembrance was only the beginning, because Earth hadn't just survived, it had become something else. In a control chamber floating above the new Earth, a figure stood. It was Elara. Changed. Yes. Her eyes now glowed white. Her thoughts moved faster than light. Her voice could echo across space without a sound. She had been awake for 10,000 years, and she had not forgotten. Behind her, screens showed alien fleets gathering near the old borders. Ships arming themselves. Old generals crawling out of retirement. The galaxy was afraid again. She smiled. "We are not here for revenge," she said. "We are here to restore balance." Below her, Earth pulsed with light. Not from buildings, not from fires, from life. Humanity had returned, but not as it was. As it was meant to be. The sky above the galactic capital had never been empty. Fleets of ships floated in perfect orbits, like polished jewels circling a crown. Lights blinked in organized patterns. Defense systems hummed quietly, always scanning, always watching. Nothing ever got through. Until now, a shadow appeared above the capital. No warning, no energy surge, no warp signature. One moment space was clear, the next, it was their A ship, but not like theirs. It didn't match any known design. No heat, no engines, no movement. It simply floated, perfectly still, perfectly silent, and somehow watching inside the capitals. High command, alarms blared across every floor. Officers ran between control stations. Radar screens scrambled, codes failed, emergency channels cracked with static. "What is that thing?" barked Supreme Commander Culver, eyes wide as he stared at the shape hovering on the main screen. "It appeared without warning," said the chief analyst. "It's not responding to hails. Fire a warning shot." The technician hesitated. "Our targeting systems aren't locking on." "What I mean, they won't. It's like the ship isn't real." But it was real. It cast a shadow on the planet, and that shadow felt heavy. Outside, from the parks and rooftops of the capital, alien citizens looked up at the strange object in the sky. Some pointed, some ran, others simply stared, unsure if it was a ship, a sign, or something worse. Then the ship moved. Not with engines. Not with thrust. It simply glided forward. like a thought drifting through space. As it passed over the command tower, the structure's power grid failed for 6 seconds. Not long, but long enough to terrify a planet. When power returned, every screen across the capital, every tablet, every billboard, every military monitor showed the same thing: a face, human, but different. To still. To perfect eyes like frozen stars, skin like smooth glass wrapped in pale light. The image blinked once, slowly, then it spoke. You tried to forget us. You taught your children that we were beasts. You wrote stories about our failure. And still, we watched. No introduction. No name. Just a voice filled with calm certainty. We are not ghosts. We are not a myth. We are not what we were. Commander Kelver clenched his fists. Shut it down, blocked the transmission, but nothing worked. Every screen continued. You erased us from your maps, but you forgot one thing. The stars remember. The image vanished, replaced by darkness, not black. Empty. Then the lights came back. The screens returned to normal, but the silence in the room remained. Commander Kelver turned slowly. I want that ship destroyed. We can't even touch it, whispered one officer. Sir, it flew through our shield grid like it wasn't there. Send drones now. 10 attack drones launched from the orbital ring, fast and armed. They never reached the ship. Mid-flight, each one froze, then turned back toward the launch bay. The control team panicked. We've lost control. Before the drones returned, they exploded neatly, silently, like fireworks folding into themselves. No debris. Just vanishing sparks. Commander, Kelver stepped back from the window. What do they want? No one answered, but someone else. DIDA signal was received this time, directly inside the heads of every high-ranking official in the capital. It was not painful, but it was cold. A sentence, spoken in perfect mental clarity. We didn't come for war. We came to remind you. On a quiet balcony far from the chaos, a retired historian sat alone, watching the ship. He was old. He remembered Earth. He remembered the stories of their final stand, their refusal to kneel, their mysterious disappearance. Everyone thought it was over, but now he knew better. He whispered to himself, they didn't survive as humans, they became something else. The next day, the Galactic Council held a secret meeting. Leaders from across systems sat around a silent table. They had no footage to review, no tech to analyze. The ship had left orbit, just as suddenly as it had arrived. Gone, no trace. Not a single satellite recorded its movement, but the message it left behind still echoed in their minds. One of the council members, a creature made of golden mist, finally spoke. We are not ready for this. Another said, they've become gods. No, whispered Sovquin, the elder. Worse, they've become patient. On the other side of the galaxy, far beyond any charted route, Earth watched quietly. The first message had been delivered. The galaxy had seen their shadow. Next, it would feel their presence. It began quietly, not with explosions, not with armies, but with a silence that spread, faster than sound. In Sector 14, the skyports shut down. No ships could launch, no reason why. The engineers ran every test. Systems were perfect, and yet nothing moved. In Sector 9, a galactic bank lost access to every vault on 12 planets. Not hacked, not stolen, just unreachable, like the doors no longer recognized their creators. In Sector 3, an entire moon's defense grid activated on its own and aimed its weapons at empty space, at a point where nothing was visible. When they tried to reset it, every console displayed one word. Observed leaders across the galaxy gathered in panic. These were not random malfunctions, they were messages. No threats, no violence, just control, and worse, the fear of what else they could do. In one outer system, a group of mercenaries was hired by a nervous governor. The mission board, a strange object that had appeared above his planet, a long, silent black shard hanging in the sky, casting no shadow, making no sound. As their ship approached, their instruments went blind. No radar, no visuals, no voice comes. Then, each crew member heard a voice alone, in their minds. You've come close enough. They turned back. None of them spoke of what they felt during those minutes. But not one ever accepted another job again. Meanwhile, on the planet Verix, Supreme Commander Kelver stood at the window of his tower. Below him, the capital bustled with fear. Trade had slowed. Soldiers refused missions near the Forbidden Zone. Civilians were demanding answers. Kelver hadn't slept in days. He kept replaying the face that had appeared on the screens. Human, but not more than human. Something cold. Something ancient. He whispered to himself, what are you now? His personal AI answered without command, something it had never done before. They are not what you remember. They are not like us, they have moved beyond. The AI's voice returned to normal, as if nothing had happened. Kelva stepped back, shaken. Across the galaxy, strange monoliths began to appear, one on every planet involved in the old Earth war, each one identical, smooth, black, seamless, no signal. Just presence. The people called them the Silent Watchers. No one could move them, no one could scan them. Children who stood near them claimed they could hear music. Adults heard whispers in their sleep. Some scientists tried to study one. They placed machines around it, ran tests. After 72 hours, the machines were gone, not destroyed, just no longer there. The ground where the monolith stood was untouched, but the lab that once surrounded it had vanished. In its place was a single message carved into the floor. We learn, we evolve, we return, back on Earth. Above the new horizon where space met sky, a human ship watched it all unfold. Inside, two figures stood at a wide viewing window. One was Alara Graves, older, wiser, and no longer bound by time. The other was a boy, no more than 12. He was not her child. Not in the human way, but he carried her thoughts, her memories, and her fire. He asked, "Why do we not strike?" She replied calmly, "Because we don't need to." The boy watched the galaxy through the glass, wide-eyed. "They fear us," he said. Alara nodded. "Good, but fear is not the goal." He turned. "Then what is?" She placed her hand on the glass. Understanding. Silence passed between them, but even silence carried weight now, far beyond. The Galactic Council finally broke its silence. A public message was sent to the entire network, something never done before. They addressed the humans, not as enemies, not as threats, but as equals. It was a plea. "We recognize your presence, we acknowledge your return, we seek peace." The message was sent. No reply came, not at first, but 3 days later. Every system received the same signal. Not a voice, not words, just a pattern. A pulsing light, rhythmic, steady, like a heartbeat. And within that heartbeat, something deeper. Peace was always your choice. We gave you silence, you answered with fire. Now we bring the mirror, see what you are. And then the signal stopped, but something had changed, billions across. The galaxy had heard it not just through machines, they had heard it inside. In dreams. In thoughts. In memories. Some wept, some screamed, some simply sat in silence, staring at the sky, wondering how they had ever believed humanity was gone. They now knew the truth. Humanity had not died. It had not forgotten. It had become the quiet power that watched from the dark, waiting. The stars had stopped singing. Across the galaxy, space traffic slowed to silence. Trade halted. War fleets sat idle in their docks. From the glowing cities of the inner systems to the mining camps on cold, nameless moons, the universe held its breath. Something had arrived. Not a fleet, not a weapon, a choice. Above the Galactic Council's throne world, a structure unlike anything ever seen hovered silently. No shape, no engine, no design to categorize. It was just presence, pure and undeniable. The aliens called it the Crownless Star. It was not built for war, yet no one dared fire upon it. Inside, within a chamber of still light and air that did not move, sat 3 beings, human in form but clearly more. Their skin shimmered like liquid memory. Their eyes had no pupils, only white calm. They did not speak with mouths, they spoke with truth. A delegation of alien leaders stood before them. The council had sent its highest, bravest, and most desperate voices. They came not with weapons, but with bowed heads. The central human figure leaned forward, not in arrogance, but in patience. "Do you understand now?" The voice rang through their minds, clear, soft, without emotion. One of the alien leaders, Sof Quinn, oldest of the council, stepped forward. His crystal form flickered in shame. "We believed the stories," he said. "We believed you were gone." The humans said nothing. "We thought we ended you." The humans said nothing. "We feared what you might become." And then, the human responded not with anger, but something far colder. "We became what you feared." A silence passed through the room, so deep it pressed against the walls. Sof Quinn dared to ask, "What happens now?" The second human being, younger, female, in shape, voice like distant wind, answered, "Now, you choose." The aliens looked at each other. "Choose. We do not wish to rule, we do not wish to burn, but we will not be forgotten. We watched for 500,000 years. We studied your peace. We listened to your lies. And we built. We do not demand surrender. We offer guidance." One of the younger alien diplomats trembled. "Guidance. Under your control." The third human, eyes closed until now, opened them slowly. Stars moved in his gaze. under our protection. The word protection echoed with power, not threat, not comfort, something else. A promise. Across the galaxy, the choice was already unfolding. Planets that had once cheered Earth's destruction now received unexpected signals. Their skies lit with soft, silent shapes, not ships, but messages in their own languages. On their own devices, the message repeated, "Your past is known, your actions remembered, but your future remains unwritten. Choose peace, choose truth, choose to be more." Some worlds bowed quickly, opening communication channels, sending oaths of peace. Others hesitated. One planet, Zarak Prime, fired upon the signal. Its defense grid lit up the sky with plasma and pride. Within 13 seconds, every weapon on the planet shut down. Not destroyed. Just turned off. The people stared upward as the message returned unchanged. Choose. Back on the crownless star, Sovquin lowered his head. We choose peace. The human beings did not smile. They simply rose. Their bodies shimmered like water touched by light. Then we begin. Suddenly, around the council building, seeds of light dropped from above. They struck the soil, disappeared, and then from the ground, structures began to grow. Silent, clean, not made of matter but of code and energy. Cities that healed themselves, systems that asked for nothing but gave everything. Medical towers, knowledge, wells. Peace-keepers, machines not for war but for balance. Within hours, the world changed. And not just this one. Every planet that chose peace received the same. No contracts. No deals. No speeches. Only change. Silent. Steady. Kind. But those who refused were simply left behind, not destroyed, just disconnected. The humans never returned to them, never forced them. They were given time, but not forever. On the new Earth, floating in its folded place, Elara Graves stood on a hill of black glass, watching the stars flicker one by one, some blinking back in acceptance, others remaining dim. The boy beside her, now taller, older, asked her softly, "Did we win?" She smiled, just slightly. "No," she said. "We waited." He nodded. Double quotes, "and if they betray us again." Her answer was quiet. "Then we become something worse." Behind them, the earth shone, no longer blue, no longer green, but a soft silver, a world reborn, a species reborn. Not conquerors. Not gods, just watchers, just reminders that some flames never die, they just burn, patiently.